Well, g'day there, team. First rugby video for the season. Apologies, I have really struggled to find the time to make a video. But we're going to do it. I'm in a hurry. I'm going to try and get through as much as I can. There's quite a bit to talk about. I'm going to talk about quickly the Black Ferns and their last game in the Pacific Cup. I'm going to talk about the final game in the Japan League, and then we'll talk about Super Rugby. So bear with me just quietly. It is a lot of effort putting these videos together, so especially when I know that there's not many people watching, or if anybody watching. But shout out to all of those people that are making videos. Good on you. It is a lot of work, so much respect. So anyway, this is this game was part of the Pacific Four series, New Zealand versus Australia. The game was won easily by the Black Ferns in the end, so it's worth talking about. I watched a fair chunk of the game, and I must admit I haven't spoken about this before, but the women's game of rugby is so refreshing to watch. It's completely different. It's almost watching a different game, but they play with such a different attitude, and they can really express themselves, but they are right into everything. Very competitive, very physical, very fast, and the skill level is exceptional, and they deserve a lot more attention and a lot of credit. This game was in, I think it was North Harbour, not far from where I am, in Albany Stadium, North Harbour Stadium, and it was in the afternoon, so it provided plenty of opportunity for lots of running rugby. Anyway, so the Black Ferns kicked off the scoring in the first 5 minutes, and then the Wallaroos responded very quickly after that, but it was legitimately all one-way traffic after that. The Black Ferns scoring 11 tries to win this one, and the score was 45-7 at halftime, so well and truly done and dusted by that point, but the ladies just kept going. The full-time score was 67-19, so yeah, certainly the Wallaroos were well outplayed. The refereeing was good. I think there was a moment where there was a potential high tackle, but the player with the ball was falling into the tackle, so common sense prevailed. So you talk about how well the women are playing and their skill levels, but also the refereeing is pretty good also. So unfortunately for the Black Ferns, they didn't win the Pacific Four Series tournament. I think they lost against Canada by 3 points, and so therefore unfortunately missed out on that competition, but definitely a very, very good game. And then the other game I said I'd talk about just quickly, because I'd like to talk about, but the Japan Rugby League 1 competition, there was quite a lot happening there. I watched the highlights. Certainly the play was pretty good. The game was entertaining. The skill level is quite vastly different to Super Rugby, and you will see some things that happen in Japan Rugby that you don't see normally. So I'll say that much. But what we had was Pacific Wild Knights versus the Brave Lupus, the Toshiba Brave Lupus. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And quite a few expats in the game. We had Mariki Korobeti playing on the wing for Pacific Wild Knights. We had Damien Dialende. We had Lachlan Boucher from the Chiefs, or Taranaki. We also had Lou Diaga from South Africa at lock. So some good class there. And then for the Toshiba Brave Lupus, we had a few people that we would recognise. We had Shannon Frizzell, ex-All Black. We had Michael Leach, who has been a long time Japan legend, but also playing for the Chiefs in Super Rugby when the Chiefs won a couple of competitions. Richie Mwanga, of course, at first five. And yeah, a few other players mixed. We also had Shota Hori playing for the Wild Knights. He was come off the bench at hooker, and he played quite a bit of Super Rugby as well. So a few faces we recognise, or names we recognise. Also for the Wild Knights, that was Robbie Dean's coach team, and the coach for Toshiba Brave was Todd Blackadder. So certainly a lot of people that we would recognise. But anyway, hell of a game in the end. I think the Brave Lupus had been doing, dominating the competition for most of the year. But anyway, they managed to, the Lupus won 24-20, but certainly it was close all the way through. The Toshiba Brave Lupus was leading 10-6 at halftime. Marika Koribeti going off for a yellow card, which I don't know if it was a yellow card. I don't know how that works, but he was chasing down an opposing player and pulled on the back of his jersey. I guess it was high, so that was why. But he didn't take him around the neck or make contact with the head. So anyway, so he spent 10 in the bin, and then in the second half, Toshiba scored early, and you just felt like that was sort of going to be it. But the Panasonic Wild Knights did not go away. They scored 2 tries in 5 minutes between the 60th and 70th minute to actually take the lead at that point. What would they be? They would have been leading by 20-17, and so they got back right in the game, and there was 10 minutes to go, so it was tough, but tough for the Toshiba team to come back. But they managed to score a try with about 5 or 6 minutes remaining. Quite a try in the end. There was two moments where they had to look at it quite closely, but one was the foot of a attacking player was just about to go out and managed to just offload just in time, and then there was a forward pass that we're checking, which was a line ball. So yeah, hell of a try. And then that wasn't all. So Panasonic, Wild Knights, they managed to get some good field position and some possession, and they were hot on attack. 13 phases later, there was a ball that was passed forward, and a few phases later they managed to score in the corner, but after a long passage of play, and it was ruled no try because of the forward pass. And that was the difference in the end. So the Toshiba managed to hang on and seal that one. So yeah, hell of a game in the end. Worth watching the highlights if you can get to that. But anyway, I mainly want to cover off the Super Rugby. So what I'm going to do is a review of round 14. So last weekend, because there was a lot happening, and it was the penultimate round. We're about to head into finals. We've got one round remaining, but let's review the previous round. We had the first game was the Chiefs versus the Hurricanes. Always going to be a close game, toss of a coin sort of scenario, because the Chiefs are at home, and you'd probably argue the Hurricanes are the better team. Anyway, Chiefs lost this one. Hurricanes winning 20-17. I had Chiefs 1-12. Chiefs were coming off a loss against the Rebels in Melbourne, and the Hurricanes had that solid win, of course, against Moana Pacifica, albeit the Hurricanes against the Moana were a B team. No changes to the Chiefs starting lineup, a couple of tweaks on the bench. Hurricanes changed almost everyone, like I said. They had a B team, but young kid, Tupu, the hooker, hit someone high, and his high tackle obviously went off for a yellow, but it was upgraded to a red. Chiefs didn't take advantage of that, looking very rusty anyway in that first half, but Hurricanes managed to score with the numerical disadvantage through Namir. The prop scoring, he had a good run from about 30 to 35 metres out, showing some good pace. Sifa Omor would be proud. Kalen Boshier he got disappointingly, he got a yellow card, and Geordie Barrett then made them pay. But with another try at that point. So at that point, though, the Hurricanes were back to 15 men. I think with a red card, you're out for 20 minutes. So the score was 0-14, and the Chiefs just weren't in it really in the first half. But out of nowhere, the Chiefs made a break to score in the first minute of the second half. Narawa and Anton Leonard-Brown combining to score a long-range try. That was 41 seconds after kickoff into the second half. Penalty to the Hurricanes, and then the Chiefs worked their way into some good field position, and Setiti scores. DMAC converts, so the score was 14-17. Naholo for the Hurricanes got a yellow card at that point. Hurricanes, they went within a fingertip to score a try, the Hurricanes, but it was just a slight knock on with 8 minutes remaining. But the Hurricanes got a penalty 40 minutes out. Luke Jacobson was penalised for not rolling away, which I really struggle with, but that was the game in the end. I think both teams got penalties, but anyway, to make the score 17-20. But yeah, look, and this is what defensive teams will do, but attacking teams will do. So someone will make a tackle from the other side, and then the attacking team, to clear out their ruck, they'll actually hold that tackler in. So maybe that's something that the rule, there's release, tackler's got to release. Well, the tackler's got to have an opportunity to get out of there. But anyway, so Hurricanes only managing 2 penalties in the second half. The Chiefs didn't play well for most of the game. Similar to last week, I don't think the Chiefs are in form at the moment. Hurricanes are a seriously good side, of course, this year, so let's give them a bit of credit for that. And Geordie Barrett, absolutely awesome. Captain, goal kicker. He seems to be probably the best player going around. TJ Perenara has been massive for the Hurricanes this year. I don't think they were expecting him to have to play such a significant role. I think that the Hurricanes can only get better with some of the injuries coming back, or more back this week. Brumbies versus Rebels was the other game on Friday night. Brumbies winning comfortably 53-17. I had the Brumbies to win this one, but I had it much closer, to be honest. Didn't watch it, but it's hard watch these Aussie teams. But Brumbies, they were coming off their win against the Crusaders in Canberra the week before. Of course, there was a lot happening in that game and the way that finished. The Rebels only just losing to the Chiefs the week before. That was the Rebels' last home game, so they won't play at home again. They've made the finals, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but they won't play back in Melbourne, and that's it for them. We'll just see, is this the end of the emotional motivation that's boosted their season, and they've won a few games, more than I predicted and most would have. 4 yellow cards in the game, 3 to the Brumbies, and I think they were all in the second half, but the first yellow card was to the Rebels in the 31st minute. The Brumbies scored 3 tries before half time, so that yellow card was sort of the difference in the end. That Rebels yellow card, 34-3 at that point at half time, and the game was over. More even second half, of course. Brumbies getting a few yellows, but if the Brumbies can still win the second half with 3 yellows, and the Rebels are in trouble. The Brumbies are a decent side. There's no question there. We'll talk about who's finishing where in a minute. Moana Pacifica versus Waratahs, first game on Saturday afternoon in Mount Smart, Auckland. Pacifica winning comfortably 27-12. I had Moana 1-12, but they did a lot better than that. That Waratahs team is shocking. Moana Pacifica, their last game was a loss to the Hurricanes, but they did compete in that game, and of course some of the personnel changing in the Hurricanes sort of leveled that up. But the Waratahs were pumped by the Force last week, and the Waratahs are dead last with only 2 wins this season, and they can't change that, which says a lot about probably one of the most well-funded clubs or teams in the competition. This was all Moana Pacifica, really. And yeah, look, it was enjoyable. I did enjoy the fact that they did well, certainly beating the Waratahs. Not a big crowd at the ground, but I guess most people were going to Mount Smart the next day for the Warriors. It was a sellout on the Sunday. Moana scored the first 4 unanswered tries, and then I think that was all the way up to the 60th minute. It was 14-0 at halftime. But yeah, certainly worth pointing out that Moana scored the first 4 unanswered tries, and they led with 27-0 with only 15 to go. So the Waratahs scored a couple, but they really weren't in the game. A very poor season by the Waratahs, of course. But yeah, good luck to Joe Smith with the Wallabies. The Aussie system is really broke if the Waratahs are playing like that, and coaching Australia is pretty much career suicide if you were to ask me. But Joe Smith is a very different kettle of fish. He's proper class. Moana will be very satisfied with this season, actually, winning 4 games and close to the top 8. But yeah, certainly if you were looking at budget or funding for the different teams, Moana Pacifica would have the least in the competition, and Waratahs possibly the most. Who knows? Anyway, look, if you spoke to Moana Pacifica before the start of the season and you said, would you take 4 wins? They probably would. I don't know what Tana Umang would say about that, but certainly he's been able to give a bit of confidence in the team, so it's been really cool for them. And then the Crusaders versus the Blues after that, hell of a good game, a nail-biter without a surprise there. No one was expecting anything different, even though the Crusaders have had a pretty challenging season. Anyway, the score is 29-27, Crusaders winning that just. I had Blues 1-12. I think the Blues took this game reasonably lightly, to a degree. Blues were favourites, and I felt like a couple of selection choices were probably something that the Blues shouldn't have done, but the reality is I think they're reasonably comfortable in the top 4. Anyway, so the Blues were heavy favourites. Crusaders' last game was obviously the narrow loss to the Brumbies. Maybe there's a rule change with what happened at the end of that game. But anyway, Blues are coming off a big one against the Highlanders. That was at Eden Park. A few team changes for the Crusaders. Ethan Blackadder comes in for Tom Christie, who went to the bench, and then Tamaite Williams returns on the bench. Levi Amor doesn't quite make it back, although he was named on the Wednesday. He didn't get to play in the end. A number of changes for the Blues. Patrick Tuipulotu is back and captain. No Dalton Papali'i, but Hoskins Satutu, Taufa Funaki, Rieko Ioane, Mark Talia, and Sorry. No Dalton Papali or Caleb Clark, but Hoskins Satutu, Taufa Funaki, and Rieko Ioane, Mark Talia, and Stephen Perifeta, they were all back. But anyway, it was quite a back and forth first half. 2 tries to Tuangafasi at prop, which is unheard of. 2 tries to the Crusaders. Crusaders missing 2 penalties and a conversion. Shea Fihaki scoring right on half time to make the score 12-15 Blues, just edging in front. Stephen Perifeta was yellow carded early in the second half. Look, for me, that wasn't a yellow card. He got 2 hands to it and was attempting to catch, but that's not how the referee saw that. But both teams scored tries while he was off, so it was reasonably even. Wouldn't say that was a pivotal moment, but it certainly never helps. Crusaders much better with Ethan Blackadder and Cody Taylor back. Still missing Scott Barrett, of course, and the halfback had a really good game, Noah something. But he looks proper class, and certainly is the future, I would say. That's about all I've got to say about that one. We'll cover off this weekend in a minute. Reds versus Force, 59-13 to the Reds. I had Reds probably 1-12. I thought that'd be a bit closer game. The Reds lost last week against the Drua and Fiji. They made 8 changes. Force won against the Waratahs. Chase Tiatia was on the bench, which I struggle with. He's been their best player, certainly on attack. Force won the last time those 2 teams met, but extremely one-sided, and the Force try was right at the end of the game. So, it just highlights how easily the Reds won that. But the Reds scoring 9 tries. Highlanders versus Drua. Highlanders, I had Highlanders 1-12, but the score was 39-3. The Drua don't travel well, do they? Highlanders looked to bounce back after getting pumped by the Blues, and the Drua had beaten the Reds at home. Drua have a very contrasting home and away record, of course, only losing at home to the Hurricanes, pretty much arguably the best team in the competition, and still haven't won away from home yet in Super Rugby. Very cold. I think it was less than 10 degrees, so the Fijian team would have struggled with that. Even though it was under the ref, it was still freezing. Highlanders outside backs ran right. They should have been the other way around, of course. I don't think we have really seen such an expansive game from the Drua yet, which is their natural style of game. But certainly the outside backs for the Highlanders did really well. They scored 2 tries in the first half and led at halftime 18-0. Drua scored the first points of the second half through a penalty. Going for a penalty while trailing 18-0, not sure, but anyway, but doesn't that penalty, getting points on the board's good, but it didn't give them any momentum. Highlanders scored 5 minutes later, a try through Jonah Nareki for his second, and the Highlanders finished off with a couple more. But yeah, for the bonus point. Drua didn't lose their discipline, well, drastically anyway. Of course, when they get sort of soundly beaten, certainly that game against the Rebels in Melbourne was a debacle in the end. But yeah, Highlanders had a good game, good all-round performance really across the board, but we'll be especially happy with the outside backs, and also keeping the Drua without a try is a great effort too. So well done to the Highlanders. Well, let's take a quick look at the table and look at the games ahead. But I think most of the top 8 is locked in now. At the moment, the Blues are first equal with the Hurricanes, although the Blues just slightly edged the Hurricanes with their points for and against record. The Brumbies are third. All top 3 teams having won 11 games. Brumbies not getting as many bonus points. The Chiefs are fourth. That won't change. If the Brumbies lose and the Chiefs win, they'll with a bonus point against the Blues. A little bit of a tricky scenario there, but if the Chiefs do manage to win with a bonus point and the Brumbies get nothing out of their game, the Chiefs could go ahead by the looks on points for and against. They're 5 points behind on the table. The Reds are 5th, Highlanders 6th. Rebels are 7th, Drua are 8th, Force are 9th, Crusaders 10th, Moana Pacifica 11th, Waratahs 12th. So Waratahs won't change, that's locked in. A lot would need to happen for the Drua to get passed by anyone. Rebels in 7th place at 26. They can't be passed by anyone, maybe the Drua, but they can't be passed by the Force or the Crusaders. And the Highlanders, they're still in the mix. So I guess it's a case of seeing what that bottom 3 arrangement will be. That top 3 arrangement will be interesting as well. The Reds won't move. It's unlikely the Chiefs will move as well. So for the Crusaders or the Force to get in, the Crusaders need to beat the Moana Pacifica, which is very likely. It's very likely to happen. And then the Drua need to lose to the Rebels at home. So let's talk about what could happen. I mean, the Force need to beat the Brumbies. Force are at home as well. So there's a few things that could happen. The first game up, we've got the Crusaders versus Moana Pacifica. I'm going to quickly run through the games and give you my tip or pick. Let's just see if my phone plays ball. But the Crusaders, they've made a few changes to the starting side, 3 changes. And Maite Williams will replace Fletcher Newell at tight head prop. And then Sevu Reece will have a rest by the looks. I think Sevu Reece has been their best player easily this year, so fair enough for giving him a break. Macca Springer will come in. Ryan Crotty's actually going to come in and start. David Havili will have a rest. And then a few changes on the bench, which is hardly worth talking about. But Ryan Crotty, the question mark there will be match fitness, and he hasn't been playing a heck of a lot this year. Moana Pacifica, they've made a few changes, 4 changes to the starting side. Sekope Kepu starts at tight head prop. It could be his last time, so we'll wait and see there. But and then Henry Taifu returns to the start. He starts at centre, and then they've got a change at left wing with Pepe Sana Petefilo. And then Jonathan Taumatini, he goes to halfback. So, yeah, a few changes to Moana Pacifica, but look, I don't think there's any chance they'll win that game. Crusaders at home after a good win against the Blues. I've got Crusaders 13 plus, actually. And then we've got the Waratahs Reds. After that, we have five changes with the Waratahs. So both props are new. And then we've got a new locking, a lock with Miles Amatasero. And Lockie Swinton comes in for Ned Hannigan at blindside, which I think is probably the right thing to do. Lockie's been one of the better players for the Waratahs this year. And then they've had a change at fly half or 5/8 where Tane Edmonds can he's not starting. Jack Bowen is. So I don't know if that'll change anything. And then Tristan Riley returns on the right wing, who has played quite a bit this year for them on the wing. Reds, front row. Zane Nongo will start at tight head prop. Jeffrey Tumunga Allen not starting. He is probably one of the better Reds players. I actually thought the Reds, because their position on the table can't change, I thought they would rest a lot of players, so I didn't expect, but they've named quite a strong side, almost full strength, you would argue. So they are strong favourites to win this game, even though it's in Sydney. And I have tipped the Reds. I think it'll be a bit closer. I feel like the Reds will make some changes and give starting players a bit of a rest throughout, earlier. But you never know. But I think the Waratahs, you'd expect them to do something a bit more. But I've got Reds 1-12 on that one. Let's keep moving as fast as we can. Sorry, everybody. Fiji Drua versus Melbourne Rebels. A few changes for Fiji, 5 to be exact, at prop and bits and pieces. Rebels, after a thumping defeat to the Brumbies, they've made 7 changes. Yeah, look, I think the big one there is Rob Leota coming in. Carter Gordon also returns to 5/8, so that's pretty key. But yeah, I just think that the Rebels are going to struggle. They've played on emotion all throughout the season, certainly at home. They have no chance to get any further home games. I don't think, like I said, they won't get knocked out of the top 8. Fiji at home, very, very difficult to beat. Most teams have struggled. Well, most teams haven't been able to do it this year. I think that, like I said, the Hurricanes are the only one. So look, I think the Drua will be well up for this one. They are serious. They'll know what happens with the Crusaders game. So Crusaders will likely go ahead of the Drua. So it's really up to them at that point. So look, Drua's got to win that. I've got them by 13 plus. I feel like we should see them throw quite a bit at that game and really express themselves. Let's wait and see. Hurricanes, they've made 4 changes there. Asifa Umoa, like I said, he's returning. And then Duplessis Karifi is back at open side. So Peter Lakai goes to the bench. I feel like that's just a resting move, although, man, how good is the depth with the Hurricanes. And Salesi Rayasi, he starts on the left wing, the only change to the back line. And yeah, you could argue that he should be starting left, but Naholo's been playing really well this year as well. Highlanders, they've made 7 changes. They will stay in the top 8 no matter what, so I think they're probably thinking about next week, a few changes in terms of people moving around, but I don't think there's a heck of a lot worth talking about there. Conningard and Bashop coming in, but yeah, Finn Hurley ends his first start at fullback, and then Hayden Michaels is in line to debut off the bench. So yeah, a few newbies. Looks like they're thinking about next week, to be honest. So we'll wait and see, but I think the Hurricanes are going to get better and better as their players come back from injury. And I would say that I've got Hurricanes 1-12. The odds are suggesting that it's going to be a complete walkover for the Hurricanes to win comfortably. I hadn't looked at that lineup, to be fair, so I'll have to work out whether I want to change that or not. But I think the Hurricanes will win comfortably. And then we had the Blues versus Chiefs, pretty much the game of the round. I think it'll be a bit closer than the odds suggest. What have we got in terms of personnel? 4 changes for the Blues. Ricky Riccatelli, he starts instead of Kurt Eklund at hooker. Marcel Renata comes in for his 50th match, and Dalton Papali'i returns. Caleb Clark returns. So for me, they are looking a little bit better in terms of lineup, and they are giving this a red hot crack. They're not it doesn't look like they're really resting anyone. 7 changes to the Chiefs. They're responding or reacting to their game last week, but maybe they're taking this a bit lighter to rest some people. I don't think they should. They need to find some momentum, but that's just my opinion. Takiyaho, he's going to go from the bench, start from the bench. Akoi and Jimmy Tupou are new locks. And then Samipeni Finau's back, which is huge. I think they've been missing him dramatically. Wallace Satiti is going to get the start at number 8, which is quite huge. He's definitely come on leaps and bounds this year and been one of the Chiefs' better players. So that means Luke Jacobson will start at open side. And then 2 new midfield pairings, and I think again Quinton Paya should be starting, but that's okay. He has had a few injuries this year, so they're probably just managing his workload. Look, I've got the Blues 1-12 being at home, but there's a few things worth saying. I mean, I feel like the Blues team is stronger. They're putting their best possible lineup out there, but the Chiefs do really well at Eden Park. They haven't lost there very much, and I think they've won 3 in a row at Eden Park in particular, but they haven't lost to the Blues much over the last few years. But this is a much different Blues team, and I think they'll be wanting to make a statement. I just don't know. The Chiefs haven't played very well in the last 2 weeks. I'd like them to be able to try and find some momentum and some consistency, so I'm hoping that they play really well. That's all I can ask for. So they have a chance to go ahead of the Brumbies, but it's pretty unlikely. Anyway, so the Brumbies versus Force over in Perth. The Force have made a few changes, and they certainly needed to after losing 59-13. The Force, I don't think it's hardly worth going through all of the team changes. In terms of the Brumbies, they've made a couple. But they're just coming off a big win, 53-17. This Brumbies team is proper class. I don't think they'll get any home games if the top 2 teams continue to win. But if they do get a home final somewhere along the line, then they'll be very hard to beat at home. Look, I don't know. The Force have got a lot to play for, let's be honest. More than the Brumbies. The Force is still a chance of making the top 8. But it's unlikely. I'd say the Crusaders have a better chance. But again, that depends on what the Drew are able to do against the Melbourne Rebels. So I had Brumbies 1-12. They have named a pretty solid team. Like I said, only a couple of changes. So I'm going 1-12 because I feel like the Force have a lot to play for. But I don't know. I think that there's every chance that the Brumbies go on and give them an absolute hiding. So look, let's wrap it up there. Thank you for listening if you have been. I look forward to enjoying the rugby, and please like, comment, whatever you want to do. Tell me who your picks are, but enjoy.